Good morning. Happy Sunday, everybody. Good morning. Happy Sunday. So, yeah, I had a burst of energy, a burst of evolution the last couple days. Um, when I wrote the chapter on the New World Order and the Georgia Guidestones, I think I gave a little bit of credibility to I don't know. I need to actually go even further back to the evolution of man. Like, I can't skip over the evolution of man because there really is a significant substantiation to what biotech is doing today, and then how man became advanced over time, and then looking at how people have the inability to adapt to different climates, to different atmospheres, to even a different level of energy. What is this level of energy? It's like the grid. It's like from 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G, 7G, 8G. So from 1G to 9G, the body has to function at a specific frequency, right? And then the body also has to adapt to that frequency. You can have not too high of a frequency in the atmosphere that will cause then total, like, universal destruction, because obviously when there's so much energy foisted upon a very condensed area, this is why you see like smart meters where there's so much energy and there's plants that are brown, right? Well, there really isn't like a balancing force with that energy. And so yeah, there, next to a smart meter there's brown plants because those plants are too close to that energy source. So the action potential is now causing more of a destruction. But the plants that are further away from that point of origin, are still able to survive. Why is that? Because they're able to now use the atmosphere, and it's enough balance for their photosynthesis, enough balance for their growth process to be able to factor in that smart meter that's right there in the area. Well, that's the same thing with humans. Okay, humans did come from some kind of biotechnological interception through higher life forms that we're now kind of being exposed to. We've been exposed to it. We've been introduced to potential aliens. The conspiracy community have talked about reptilians and Arcturians and I don't know, the Greys and all of that. And I can't tell you which ones, had a hand somewhere within our advancement over a period of time of man evolution, but man has been innovated on a biotechnological level at some point during our development process, and then we continue to be innovated. Okay, innovated like vaccinated, right? And so, I'm making all these correlations with the aging process, that yes, you can innovate a species for a certain amount of time, and then if there is instability somewhere within that specific entity, then eventually it dies off. And so just because you're able to last for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years, 80 years, 90 years, doesn't mean that it's an actual stable innovation. It is, but the missing link is the right chemistry to be able to take on that innovation on an indefinite basis. And so I've seen the aging process as the innovation that was foisted, that was forced upon an entity like a human. I see the aging process as the innovation wearing off. And then the original human, through the aging process, is now like coming to, that I'm not saying that they're going to person turn totally back to the caveman, because yes, you can have a very old, very, very elderly person who still has some of the, still has some of the innovation in their brain, but the body is now going back to its original form before it was able to take on innovation. So, they won't be able to, they'll be only able to kind of loop in the same information because that's what they've been doing for so many years, but they won't be able to take on new information and evolve from their current position. So let's just say, take Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's been in the Supreme Court for how many years? And she was able, they allowed her to grow old, because she was like, what, 80, 90, 100, whatever. She was very, very old, okay? But it wasn't like she reverted back to her caveman years, because her body was able to take to the evolution, but her brain was still evolved, but her body could not evolve. And so that speaks to the biotechnical manipulations to her brain that which her body could not follow. And so, yeah, you see a lot of those people in our society that are able to keep their faculties, to keep their intellect, but their body could not really follow suit. And then people revere them like, oh yeah, this was a great brain, a great intellect, but they were biomanipulated and then programmed. Okay, that's basically the safest way I can say it. So somewhere along the line, man is really a hybrid of a caveman who has baser level instincts to only fight, flight, or procreate. Okay? And then innovation is then biotechnologically inserted to where they become peaceful, relatively, productive, potentially, and are contributing members of society. But what happens is, if there's some kind of glitch or anomaly or some kind of weird thing that goes on during their upbringing or some other biotechnological glitch in their body, then their decline, their descent back to the universe then becomes a bit more chaotic. And so we have segments of our population that couldn't take to the innovation, couldn't take to the programming. And so when segments of the population cannot take to the programming, and they've been programmed to be very intolerant because the decline of their body is now bringing to surface the things that they were already, I don't know. I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this, because why is one part of our society so technologically advanced and the other part of our society is sort of, but then very, very caveman-like with the inability. And I think that yes, access to certain foods, access to food, medicine, and innovation and technology has allowed some people to evolve more, which is what you're seeing like on the two coasts because of biotechnology, and then access to resources because they are the influencers in our society, the two coasts, Silicon Valley and New York. And so, all points in between, are intermittent with, people who are very highly influential, very advanced, and then people who are just like so caveman-like that you're like, dude, what the hell? You think that they were actually an experiment? Well, no, they were actually the prototype. And then innovation will then evolve someone to be, an amazing contributing member to society, helping humanity push forward. And so now I get it. And so what's going on is the vaccinations and the viruses and the grid are forcing people to evolve, because the electricity causes exotoxicity, right? It can be, you can call it exotoxicity. It doesn't have to be exotoxicity. It can actually be, excite evolution, where you are advancing with the right support functions to be able to handle the next level of evolution. So every single 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G, 7G, 8G, 9G is really like an evolutionary level through the grid, and then the body has to be supported as each rung is being increased. And so I know this, I'm trying to find ways to say this, but yes, the hybridization of man and ape, and then the alien innovation DNA is what caused such a leap forward. So really what I'm experiencing right now with people with my information are the people that are not very highly evolved, who cannot take on new information. And so their barbaric, their caustic, their lack of evolution, their inability to take on new information is becoming quite apparent. And so this is why the vaccines exist. This is why the grid exists. This is why all the things that people are like up against or hate, because they have the inability to evolve and they know it. And then of course they call it Satan. Okay, and which people call me Satan too. They're calling me like, oh my God, you are such a scourge on humanity. No, it's called evolution. I mean, do you really want to go back to the days where there are warring factions and, like the days of the samurai? Do you really want to go back to the days of Genghis Khan where it's just destruction and death and intolerance and people doing such horrible things to each other? Or do you want to have a very peaceful, loving society that's productive, that's tolerant, that, is innovative? And so, yeah, when you see a society that has the inability to evolve, guess what they revert back to? They revert back to a caveman type quality. They revert back to Genghis Khan. They revert back to a third world country that has no law and order. They revert back to very animal instincts. Okay? And so the more evolution, the more the ability to keep advancing in body, mind, and spirit, the less you will then turn to something like intolerance. The less you become dependent upon somebody else to feed you energy. The more independent and the more productive you are, the less that you're going to need to utilize so many resources. And so, some point in the future, being single is going to be okay. Being single and having your own path to advancing your brain, your body, and your mind is going to be foremost. Maybe you'll find someone down the road as a mate, and maybe you won't. But who cares? And so right now we're leaving the family unit. We're the decline of marriage and partnerships with people is for a reason, because at some point you're going to have to evolve yourself. And when you evolve yourself, then you will find like-minded people that you will have a certain type of relationship with that's not going to be on a dependent mode. And that is then exponential, that you won't be then depending so much on your government. You won't be depending so much on your community, except that everyone has a role, whether they maintain the water infrastructure, to maintaining the food supply chains, to maintaining some kind of law and order. So that way, not too much, because if you have a balanced people in society, you won't need to have as many policemen. You won't need to have as many jails. If you have very balanced people in body, mind, and spirit, you won't need as many medical clinics. Because what would you have an imbalance from if you're pretty much keeping up to the level of the 1G, the 2G, the 3G, the 4G, and the 5G? Those are actually levels of evolution, are as the 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, and the vaccines are the vetting, because that's another action potential. That's more innovation. You take all of that away, over time, we'll revert back to baser level instincts. We'll go back to the Genghis Khan days, where people are destroying each other and they're procreating like crazy, and they're basically at a baser animal level instinct. And so yes, I would say that the aliens came in somewhere and injected innovation, peace, prosperity, productivity, order. Because then you have something like, a pack of animals that are looking to go and overtake. I mean, you've seen a pack of dogs out there, when they get into that pack mentality, they become rabid. And so I've experienced the pack mentality, the Dr. Phil crowd, the pack mentality, the super religious right that think that I'm like being Satan. You can't regrow an arm. You can't regrow this. And they galvanize together and they plot and they talk all their smack, and then they try to tear me down. And that's pack mentality. That's the lack of evolution, the lack of the inability to take on new information. So now I understand why the Georgia Guidestones exist, because now they're trying to weed out those that have the inability to evolve. And electricity, the inability to adapt to the different levels of evolution through electricity, is probably the biggest vetting force ever. So I understand the bigger picture. I understand the bigger picture. And so where you're going to know your evolution is taking is obviously you stay on J-juice, where you're not taking a side. You understand balance with everything. I mean, I have people on my other business page, Exposing Lies, that think that viruses don't exist. They think that that's just some figment of someone's imagination to use as a tool of control. I'm sorry, but viruses are basically data. And then yes, you can do artificial intelligence and splice and dice different components of viruses from hosts, okay, and then advance the biodiversity in that area and still have a very supportive environment to allow that evolution to take and be sustained and be stable. So since I've experienced the pack mentality, the people who have the inability to evolve, the ones that are so caustic and so mean and so like so baser level, I'm okay with the fact of what's going on. Yeah, I'll go through different levels of evolution, but I'm tired of dealing with the people who have the inability to evolve. I'm tired of dealing with that. And if you and Dr. Phil, maybe Dr. Phil is a representation of people in the medical community who have the inability to evolve, because not everybody in the medical community in biotech has the ability to evolve. Some of them are just used as tools for the agenda to bring up all the people who have the inability to evolve, so that way authority can use that data to figure out how to direct and redirect the population and know who the cavemen are in our society when you think about it. So when I'm suffering these attacks from all the different cavemen in our society, it speaks to why then the Georgia Guidestones exist, because we have 7 billion people, of which probably a very less than 1% have the ability to evolve. The rest, they're still stuck back in the baser level instincts. New information they can't deal with, except when it fits within their little paradigm. They have to depend upon all their friends and family and somebody else for it to give them the purpose. They haven't figured out their own purpose in life. They haven't figured out how to progress themselves on an individual level. And so, yes, this is why the Georgia Guidestones exist. This is why the World Economic Forum exists. This is why Bill Gates exists. Now you have the information around Jolly Juice to help support these rungs of evolution when it comes to 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G. If you don't want to take to the J-Juice, yes, you are going to be those that will not be able to evolve as the environment becomes hotter. Okay, the powers that be have the experience to study human civilization, to study how humans react to stimulus. And they've done the experiments like you would not believe. There's been massive amounts of experiments done on the human condition and presenting them new information in body, mind, and spirit. And so now it's up to you. It's a moment of truth. You either evolve to the level of your environment and it's going to become hotter, or yes, you will devolve with everyone else who is devolving, who are going back to their baser level instincts. And that's why the virus exists. That's why the society is opening and closing and all that stuff. Because eventually those that really don't understand what really truly is going on, they're going to be like, oh yeah, let's go hang out and do this and do that. And I'm going to still maintain my regular lifestyle as if nothing has changed. But the atmosphere has changed, but you haven't. And when the atmosphere has changed, and when evolution actually has taken place in your overall microbiome, and you haven't taken to the evolution, you will see a rapid decline in body, mind, and spirit. And some who are really, really sensitive to the changes in the atmosphere and don't want to evolve, they will be out quicker than those that might have a chance. So it is what it is. But I am tired of a percentage of our society just not understanding me, that go out of their way to try to attack me. Because that is the inability to evolve. That is the lack of evolution. That is the caveman qualities of which the innovation has finally just worn off. And when innovation wears off over 5 generations, then you get someone who has no ability to evolve. And they become harder to manage. And you can't penetrate their belief system with even a 10-foot pole. And so I've experienced that with the Dr. Phil crowd and with the extreme religious right. You need Jesus, you need this, you need that. You're Satan. Holy crap. I get it now. I get it now. So yes, we're in for the great reset. If you have the inability to evolve, you're going to go down with the chaff as each rung of 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G increases. If you have the inability to take care of yourself in body, mind, and spirit, if you're looking for someone else to take care of you, if that is still your mentality, you're going to have a hard time evolving because you're looking outside for somebody else to basically validate your existence because you haven't validated your own existence. Now is the time for you to look within and figure out who you are, because no amount of validation is going to help you evolve to the next level when the environment already has evolved and now you're having trouble evolving. So, good luck to all of you, but I finally figured out I have my book now. The aliens did come in and really give humans the innovation, and now it's finally wearing off after many, many generations. But we're seeing the last 5 generations really go down a very tumultuous path. Just look at all your groups on Facebook. Look how much hate is in each of these groups. The amount of hate that you see in all of these different factions, whether it's the left, the right, that tells you how unevolved humanity is when you see that much hate and intolerance. And that should tell you exactly what's going on and why the Georgia Guidestones exist. So if there is hate in your heart, you haven't evolved. If there's so much dependency and so much, love, 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 you really haven't evolved. So I welcome the Great Reset because I will survive it. The question is, will you survive it? That's what you have to ask yourself. And if not, you've had access to my information. But we're finally figuring out what his purpose on earth is. He had a purpose way a long time ago. Now we're here. Now it's time for balance. And forget all the caveman-like qualities. It's time for you to evolve to the next level. And that means your body has to be able to survive. And if not, then you're not going to be able to evolve in body, mind, and spirit. Because one thing to evolve your mind, but it's another to evolve your body and your spirit. And it has to all be aligned. Because I'm tired of people's caveman-like qualities of intolerance and the inability to evolve. It's exhausting. And our government's tired of it, and our leaders are tired of it, and so am I. And maybe you are too. But if you're not tired of it, then you will continue to do everything until you're basically erased from existence. I want you all to live, but you have to be able to live in a way that's going to be peaceful to your friends and family and your neighbors. With tolerance, peace, prosperity, and productivity. All right, bye.